Hello and welcome to Autology, the podcast that brings you the latest on automotive technology. Today's episode is about the use of artificial intelligence in the automotive industry, and you are here with me, Matthew Beecham, and our fantastic lineup of experts from leading companies who will share their insights and experiences in this rapidly evolving field. So let me introduce our panelists. Today, joining us are representatives from Monolith, Phyron and Geotab, each bringing a unique perspective on the role of AI in their own areas of the automotive sector. First up, we are delighted to welcome Sam Emily Smith, who is the Head of Automotive Defence and Motorsport at Monolith. Monolith is all about empowering engineering teams to create self-learning models that really make a difference. Hi Sam, great to have you with us.
Hi Matthew, thanks for having us on.
You're very welcome. Next, we're really excited to welcome Jens Peter Sjöberg, who is Chief Innovation Officer and co-founder of Phyron. Phyron is really shaking things up with their automated AI vehicle content creation platform, transforming inventory data and photos into stunning images and videos. This means that dealers can showcase their cars quickly and effectively without spending hours and hours on it. Hi Jens Peter, glad you can join us.
Hi Matthew, thank you for having us.
Hiya. And we are also very pleased to welcome Abhinav Vasu, who is Associate Vice President of Geotab. Geotab is all about vehicle telematics, gathering tons of data on vehicle behaviour and vehicle usage. It's like getting a sneak peek behind the curtain to see what's really happening with your fleet. And with all that data, companies can make smarter decisions, boost safety, and even save some cash. Hi Abhinav, welcome aboard.
Hi Matthew, thank you for having us on.
You're very welcome. In today's human-generated episode of Autology, we're going to explore the transformative role of AI in research and development, customer experience, telematics, and vehicle fleet. First, we'll look at how AI is reshaping the automotive landscape, enhancing everything from R&D processes to personalizing the customer journey and optimizing fleet management. We'll also discuss how AI-driven predictive models are streamlining battery testing and boosting vehicle reliability thanks to some very clever analytics and machine learning. Then we'll shift a few gears and talk about the retail side of things, exploring how AI is enhancing the customer experience. We'll also touch on AI-generated videos and personalized marketing, which are changing the way consumers interact with automotive brands, making the buying process a whole lot more engaging and tailored to individual preferences. And finally, we'll dive into telematics and fleet management, where AI is making a big impact on efficiency and safety. Our panelists will share how machine learning is helping predict vehicle maintenance needs, optimize routes, and monitor driver behavior, leading to cost savings and improved operational performance. So, let's get started by learning more about the overall impact of AI on the R&D processes. It's actually a fascinating topic, and I'm very excited to see how this technology is shaping up. Sam, could I turn to you first of all? I wonder, what are the most significant ways AI is changing the R&D landscape in the automotive sector, please?
Well, the R&D landscape in the automotive sector is interesting in itself, even before you bring AI into the picture at the moment. There's very much a race to reach the market faster with new innovations. For the first time ever, we're probably seeing China lead that charge with their time to market and the brands that are coming out of China. So AI is really impacting in being able to develop faster and reduce our reliance on testing. And that's really becoming quite interesting due to the way that we're trying to cut unnecessary time in the engineering life cycle. Traditionally, if you want to get to market faster, you either do the same things faster, which in a heavily optimized industry is not always possible, or you cut things out. When you're moving to a market that's looking at hybrids, EVs, range extended EVs, we're actually testing more and more in this space, and we're relying heavily on physical testing to do as such because we don't have the simulation capability to reach it. So AI is really stepping in and empowering engineers to do their traditional processes faster with more analytics, more insight to that data, and make better decisions.
That's great. Thanks very much indeed, Sam. That's very interesting. I just wonder, how do you see AI influencing the speed and efficiency of automotive innovation in the coming years?
I see it, well, first of all, from a consumer point of view, it needs to speed up. We've made some targets that we need to hit from a sustainability point of view, but also from a consumer expectation point of view. I mentioned China before, and we have vehicles being developed and coming out at a production level within 4 years now. Now, traditionally, it takes about 7 in Europe and the Western world. So we really need to cut down on kind of wasted or unnecessary time spent in R&D. And that might be looking at the wrong solutions, but that also might be over testing.
Sure. That's great. It's actually, thanks very much for that insight. It's fascinating. It really is amazing just how AI is making things faster, as you say there, faster and cheaper, and really helping us to spot issues before they even become problems. Exciting times ahead, I think, for electric vehicles and hopefully further encouraging the take-up rates. Can I now get your thoughts, Jens Peter, about enhancing the overall customer experience through AI in automotive retail? Just thinking in particular, what role does AI play in shaping customer expectations and experiences in the automotive space?
Well, I think there are so many points here to touch on, but it starts from getting sort of interested, right? The customer experience starts early back in the marketing stage, and your expectations on who you are as a person, sort of. I drive a Jeep Wrangler, and that's I identify with that. So it's a lot of psychology behind it. The most important thing I think that AI will do is personalize the way people are sold to, and that incorporates in the customer journey, because you can follow a customer from the first point of contact in a way that you've never been able to do before, and pinpoint during this journey specific targets where you can get the customer both satisfied as a customer, meet the expectations, and make the experience of much more interesting and targeted to that customer. In the end, it's what you want with the customer journey is selling a car, right? You want the person to be happy after they bought the car, and when it comes down to it, this sale is communication with a purpose, right? And this is something that and communication with the purpose, a goal, is actual manipulation. It's a hard word, but that's what it is. And so the bottom line here, it's like, will AI be able to manipulate? Of course it will. And it will also be able to learn ways that we've never seen before. So, and this to me is like the key to all this. It's I think there are depths here that will show going down the line. So I think it will improve so many aspects of the customer journey and the way that cars are sold, that it's actually hard to pinpoint today where it's going, but we can see obviously specifics, like a lot of them, like, you're using chats from there that you get pinpointed to a vehicle display page. From there, you leave your contact details, and it's already beginning to really start. But at this stage, it's more about, I would say, like data collection to collect all this data, and yeah, that's so yeah, it's gonna be so improved. It's ridiculous. It's hard. It's so many aspects to it that's why I sort of stopped in the beginning, because it's hard to actually pinpoint where this will happen, because it will happen over the board. We were talking about R&D before, and if you think about all the data that's actually out there today, and you look at that data, and you can actually pinpoint. If I look at myself as a 20-year-old, and I look at me as a 50-year-old, or when I was 30, those times in life, you have sort of, you want the same experiences, sort of. Yeah, but instead of driving a Porsche, I may look at a van for my family, and because that's more convenient in that position in life. What AI will do here is actually understand small variations that's been really hard to define till now. That I think is going to be the key coming years, to find these small things that will sell things faster, and also it will be really efficient in a way we've never seen before.
It's interesting, isn't it? The possibilities just seem you mentioned ridiculous, but they also seem endless and fun, spooky, scary. All those emotions in there. I just wonder. I mean, you mentioned a lot around about that sort of making things faster and personal. Is it? If you got your crystal ball out again, I just wonder how you saw AI helping to create an even more personalised buying experience for consumers. I mean, people buy from people, but that won't necessarily be the case in the future, and we'll just adapt. We will become.
Yeah, I mean, that what will happen is more or less you have it's pretty scary actually. I mean, you have an engine that will actually reach the target audience, and that engine can be reached in anywhere, like anywhere that humans are interacting with each other, I would say. And because all the data is out there, the journey will start before you even knowing it. And that's sort of happening right now. It's been happening for like 10 years back with algorithms and so on. But this will be so much more effective that we won't even notice some of these things. And you will be entertained and pleased on this journey that you won't even notice. Like today we can say stop, but I don't think that would ever happen. One interesting thing about this is that me as a person, as a human, sort of has to buy into all this. I was thinking about this the other day, like we have to buy into it, but the interesting thing is that I don't buy into scrolling reels on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like that's a manipulation that's happening for me. So I think this will be much. It's much like that, but it will. You won't more or less not even know that you're halfway into this customer journey. You know what I mean? Like you will be led into it in a way that we've never seen before, and at the same time it will also feel really good. This won't obviously not happen overnight. This is something that will progressively happen, but
we'll grow into it.
That's
really interesting. Is there something more about the rise of agentic AI? Are we moving more to a time where car purchases will be conducted between AI even and the consumer on the dealer side?
I'm a bit skeptic about that. I mean, in the end, I mean, then that would mean that you leave your finances to a machine. I'm not sure. I mean, that will probably happen at some level, but hopefully we'll have weak humans will decide.
Human in the loop.
I mean, it's. I think that's a bit over the top to go that far.
Wouldn't it be interesting to discuss it again in a few years' time? Often these things do seem a bit over the top, and surely not. But then Chibalink and things like that, where computers are talking to each other. It's quite strange, isn't it? Yeah. Well, thanks. That's great. Thanks very much. We'll hopefully come back to some of this as well. So it's actually very interesting to hear about how much AI is really revving up the automotive sales game, making car retail smarter and more engaging. It's also fascinating to hear about that shift towards possibly the agentic AI, but wait and see, to be continued. Abhinav, can I come to you? I wonder if we could get your thoughts on the impact of AI on the telematics and fleet management solutions across the industry. And in particular, how is AI revolutionizing telematics and fleet management in terms of efficiency and safety, please?
Yeah, absolutely, Matthew. I think a lot of interesting points made by Jens and Sam as well. And before we actually go into telematics itself, just from a personal point of view, my first possible experience with what AI is and could be was watching the Terminator films as a young boy. Jens mentioned about agentic AIs, and that was essentially two agents. One of them that was programmed to be a responsible Terminator to protect the boy, and the other one was the exact opposite of that. So agentic AI, I think, is a very interesting topic, which we should possibly get into in a little bit more detail at the end of this podcast. Also, data-wise, so Jens mentioned, the plethora of data that is available in the world today. For example, for us, from a telematics perspective, we collect something like 80 billion data points per day. And when you talk about 80 billion data points, that's a lot of data. And that's exactly where AI and machine learning comes into play. AI is a very broad topic, as well as the other podcasters have actually mentioned today. There's everything from the traditional AI, which we have used in the past for our driver safety programs and our maintenance programs, versus the more advanced ones, which I know Jens is a bit skeptical about, which is the agentic AI, for example. So there's a lot over here. Now, let me just give you a brief understanding of how we believe AI is revolutionizing telematics and fleet management. First of all, I think AI has been around for decades. Our company has been using AI for a very long time as well. It just falls under this umbrella of the traditional versus the agentic and how the evolution of that entire piece happens. So we've been around for 25 years, and recently this year we announced at our flagship event last month, we announced a couple of new advances in how we're using AI. So the first one is the driver risk insights. So one of the things that we see in the fleet world is that a lot of the fleet management companies, a lot of the customers, people that have hundreds of different vehicles, one of the things they are very interested in is to move away from reactive to move into more insight-based analysis. So our driver risk model, for instance, it is an AI-powered enhancement that works off a percentage-based collision risk probability per driver, benchmarked against similar drivers doing similar kinds of journeys from across the globe. So what that does is it creates a benchmarked and best-in-class analysis for you as a person looking at the data to try to drive yourselves forwards too. So it's in the fleet world we call it the traditional carrot versus stick, right? So providing that kind of insight-based for the driver to say that we are trying to reduce your probability of collision, making you safer, rather than it being a mandated thing from the fleet. The other aspect that we work on is the maintenance side. So there's so much to do with maintenance. It's one of the most complex topics from my personal experience as well. Predicting maintenance is a very, very difficult thing to do. So what we have worked on from an AI-based modeling perspective is to try to analyze specific failure types in a vehicle before they actually happen, and predicting what are the different trends that happen to that vehicle before we actually reach the failure, giving the users the ability to try and catch that before it happens. Operational efficiency is another one, safety interventions, trying to actually proactively coaching the drivers via an app that we use to try and say, hey, you could possibly reduce your speeding a little bit here. Your cornering could use a 10% improvement, which reduces your risk probability. And eventually it gives the fleet managers a predictive edge. It helps them prevent collisions before they actually happen. So we've moved towards this center concept where we've got this a safety center, a maintenance center, a sustainability center, and we're trying to target these with a lot of AI modeling. And this is only enabled by the fact that we've got that many data points coming in per day. So that is, I think, a very critical component, to have quality data coming in as an input to allow your models to start operationalizing what those insights could be.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I just got a sense this really just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? There's so many possibilities with this. So it's quite interesting to get your take on how that machine learning and is having a crystal ball for fleet management. The future of fleet operations is here, and it's powered by AI. And I wonder whatever next. And on that note, I'd like to open up the floor, if I may, as we look ahead. What do you all believe is the most transformative of AI technologies or applications in the automotive industry over the next 5 years or so, and how can companies prepare for these challenges? Would anyone like to go first on that, or any thoughts around those?
I'm happy to go first, Matthew. I think this. I think the way, first of all, that you've let us go in a specific order here, Matthew, is very interesting, because it kind of talks about the entire life cycle and journey, right? So coming from Sam, it's all the way through from the actual R&D of a vehicle and the automotive industry, all the way through the actual buying cycle of a vehicle, the advertising of a vehicle, the marketing of a vehicle, eventually towards the kind of end result, which is having a vehicle on the road which is maintained and kept efficient. So I think there's a significant shift towards automation, but I also personally, although Jens may disagree with me, I also believe that there's going to be a rise in agentic AI, and you imagine AI agents that can autonomously help you optimize routes, schedule maintenance, and even predict issues before they occur. And this could start all the way from the R&D process from Sam, all the way down to the actual operational side of things from the Geotab perspective. So I do think agentic AI is coming. It's the future. It's kind of already here. So that's my kind of start.
I think kind of to follow that on, Abhinav, I think it's really interesting because we use the term AI a lot, but really AI is a suite of tools that we're using to solve pretty pointed problems. I mean, from our view in the R&D and the engineering world, we are really just enabling engineers to do what they were doing faster. It's kind of, if you compare it to how the spreadsheet affected the way we operate business, we're asking engineers to use their data in more of an effective way. So I think your point on AI being around for many, many years, I mean, what we're talking about here is very complex maths, at least from an R&D point of view. But it's treated as this novel approach, which it not always is.
Yeah, good point. Jens, Peter, do you want to add to that at all?
No, I more or less agree with everything, and it's not like I disagree with agent stuff, but I think humans will keep on to making the decisions that humans value. I mean, if that makes sense. So those are probably the decisions that we will keep longest. So and all the other decisions and all the other, because in the end it's more or less decisions. So all those decisions will be done by agents or whatever it may, or whatever you call them, AI or ML or I mean, this is just a big we're talking AI and so on, but it's much more than that, as was mentioned by Sam.
I'd like to add to that. So I think, Jens makes a very good point there, and so did Sam, right? Like at the end of the day, you're right, Sam. It is very complex mathematics of different levels and scale and volume that essentially something that AI helps get quicker at. So Jens's point about people is very important, because the one thing I believe AI cannot do, and it would be scary if it can, is emotions, human emotions. That can never come into play, right? That's something that AI can and hopefully will never be able to do. to be seen, of course. So I think that's where people that use AI, I think, will be the ones that accelerate themselves versus people that do not use AI. Because, as Sam mentioned, this helps the engineers get quicker, and we've got that in our industry as well. Like we're seeing that a lot of our very smart engineers who are extremely educated and very well versed in topics have now suddenly gotten quicker and quicker and quicker. So it's reaching people's hands much quicker, the technology. So that's I guess what I'd like to finish off this initial point on.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. Well, while I've got all three of you together, I just wonder, on this sort of spirit of collaboration, I just wonder, how can different sectors within the automotive industry, such as R&D, retail and fleet management, collaborate more effectively to leverage AI innovations? Any thoughts from you three in terms of probably past experience, how best practice, how you've done it, what works well, or how it could work better?
I mean, I'm happy to kind of lead off from again the R&D point of view here. The biggest thing we see is teams collaborating is understanding their data. Data is the foundation to pretty much everything in the machine learning world, and the usual saying of rubbish in, rubbish out. From an R&D point of view, you've still got people signing off things like safety cases and justifications for design decisions. So you need to be able to trust the models you're building. And that means bringing data in from a variety of teams, a variety of people, but also sanity checking that data and looking at its quality. We've found a lot of these, large OEMs, tier ones, whether it's in the auto space or others, actually. We've all been collecting data for the last 40 years en masse, storing it away. And I don't think anyone ever envisaged potentially using the data in the way that we do now. So looking backwards and trying to utilize it has been quite a challenge. And that requires an entire business sometimes, not just a single user of AI.
Yeah, good, very good point. As I say, we've been collecting this data for a while without quite knowing what to do with it. Thank you. There's just possibilities. Any thoughts from anybody else on that one?
Yeah, I can go next. Sam makes a really interesting point, and Matthew, you were asking about previous background. My previous background was actually working in research and development within an OEM, and even at that point, we're talking like 2007 all the way through to 2019, which was more than a decade ago. The amount of data that was collected on a daily basis from one singular make model of a particular vehicle is incredible, right? Uh, and just it's all there. There's loads of data there. If we can get all that data into a system or a data lake of some sorts, there's no end to what even the OEM, the manufacturers, from their kind of base level data can do to improve the way their vehicles operate in terms of efficiency. And where I think the collaborative element comes into play is to really understand from the OEM manufacturing side of things and R&D side of things, what is the real world situation? And that is, I think, where the major connect needs to
Yeah,
happen. Using that AI from what's happening within a research and development facility versus what's happening in the fleet world, which is the kind of real world. These vehicles are actually out there, used by operators who all pretty much, one way or the other, operate vehicles slightly differently. There are nuances. So how do we connect all of that together? And that's where I think the agents can possibly come into play, speaking to each other. I mean, I say speaking, but we're talking about communicating with each other through neural networks of sorts,
yeah,
transferring data and kind of sharing insights and analytics. But this empowers people. That's I think the main point that we want to make is AI doesn't replace people; it empowers people.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Everything that we seem to focus AI on is always process driven. At least in the auto industry, and Abhinav's got a very good point. Is you're not here to replace people. You're here to allow them to work more effectively. Ultimately, you're still utilizing that data you've collected. You still need to know the right questions to either ask AI or or apply AI to, and that requires your expertise of your engineers and the like. So it's always going to remain that way.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Jens, did you want to add a final point on that, or?
The collaboration. Yeah, I think, for example, if you look at the real life fleet side of things and where I come from and research and development, I mean, there's a lot of things and data that could be synced over this whole flow, which is to me really interesting. I mean, a lot of the data that the OEM sits on, for example, they know what kind of car they should build, right? So they have the data for that. They know that where they know how things fit to the customer. Usually, I mean, that's if it's data driven and it's getting better and better, they know exactly. And all this data could actually be transformed through the down to marketing and toward like to the fleet side of things in a much more efficient and I think streamlined way. Today it's islands, and I think there's a lot that could happen there, and also analyzing that with to make the data usable for the specific steps is one thing that I see a lot of value in.
That's great.
That makes sense?
It does. It makes perfect sense. Thank you very much. And great points, all of you. Thank you very much. One final question I have for you is, I wonder if you could share any surprising applications of AI in the automotive industry that have made you rethink its potential, and perhaps what specific innovations caught you off guard even. Any thoughts there, anyone?
One, do you mind if I go first, Matthew?
Go ahead, please.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a couple of things like how AI is now being used in terms of the whole vision as well, right? Like, and by vision, I mean like actual physical vision. So, AI powered interior monitoring, safety through object analysis, fatigue analysis. Have you left your kids behind in the car, for instance, or your pets behind in the car? That sort of thing, as well as sound analysis. A lot of failures that, for instance, happen in vehicles sometimes are not transmitted through specific data elements themselves, but it's sound. You hear a little bit of paneling coming off, for instance, or you hear a little bit of tire wear. Sound analysis. This is something that we've been trying to explore as well with some of our solutions, and that I think is a really interesting concept.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks very much. Interesting idea.
I think
anyone else? Any other thoughts there?
Yeah. So interestingly, we've seen the power of machine learning to kind of spread the knowledge within engineering. So quite famously, kind of the human brain takes roughly kind of 9 complex dynamic, let's call them signals or data streams, and can start to begin to cross compare them, but usually takes years of experience to be able to understand that and drive decisions from it. But actually we've found that the power in AI to take a lot more data and allow engineers to analyze and make decisions from that is not only useful for the traditional experts, but if you can pass that down to younger generations, graduates, interns, other people who don't work within those fields, they can still interact with this data. They can still drive decisions. But ultimately, if you build models in the right way, have traceability to why those decisions are being made. So actually at Monolith, we see a lot of our customers utilizing it to be able to broaden expertise as well as all of the other insights that we see. And I think that's a really interesting area that we probably didn't expect to come out of initially bringing AI into the auto industry.
It is. Yeah, thanks very much, Sam. Jens, Peter, final word to you, if you like.
That was a hard one. Final word. I mean, I agree with both, and I think one of the practical uses for the consumer is what we mentioned here: the security and the way of learning about the actual user of the car, which is to me it's really, really interesting, and I think that can contribute to the whole industry in the end, and much more than more or less anything else, in a way. That's about it.
That's great. That's super. Thanks very much. I think I was just thinking there from what you were saying for these sort of open forum questions, and I think it's really come through. Just one final thought from me. It's really about keeping it real. Like you've all mentioned, it's really easy to get caught up, isn't it, in the idea of using technology to boost our efficiency. But we really need to be careful about what we might lose if we automate everything. We live in a world that's constantly changing, and while AI can definitely enhance our work, it should never really take the place of authenticity, empathy, and creativity that only humans can bring to the table. So let's keep it real and stay human. So on that note, I'm going to say, great, thank you very much. And unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. So a big thank you to you three for joining us this episode of Autology.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're very welcome.
Thank you very much, Matthew.
You're most welcome. And thank you very much to all you listeners for tuning in as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's episode at autology@spglobal.com email, and you can find out much more at autotechinsight.ihsmarket.com. And don't forget to hit all the subscribe, follow and like buttons to stay on track for the latest Autology podcast. And we very much look forward to you joining us again in the next episode. Bye for now.